Hi, I'm Peggy Oliveira. Thanks for joining me today. Have you at times found yourself reading different books that maybe people have recommended to you or that you've seen somebody talking about on television to try to help you through whatever the struggle is that you might be having at that particular time? Maybe it's just some things related to recognizing that you're depressed or anxious, or maybe it's something specific like having a problem with anger or addiction or abuse. There's tons of self-help books out there, and many of them are actually very good. But what I find kind of unfortunate, I guess, is that through my work with survivors in particular, they'll come to me and typically, often having had therapy, but certainly typically having had experience picking up a book here or there, actually oftentimes several, and even workbooks, and trying to work through them and feeling kind of hopeless because these books work for everybody else. Why don't they work for me? And so today I'm going to talk a little bit about why that might be the case. Like I said, there's a lot of really great books out there that are so helpful in lots of different ways. But it's important to recognize that as great as a book may be, as much effort and energy as you may put into it, for most people, especially anybody with a history of childhood-related issues, there isn't a self-help book on the market, I don't believe, that is going to fix or cure or resolve any of the issues that you're struggling with. Because when you work through these books, you're working through them from your perspective, from your belief of who you are. So if you're working through a book on depression, for example, whether it's a workbook or just a regular book that you're reading, and it talks about changing your thoughts or exercising or ways to reach out to people, journaling, different ways of coping, that's helpful information. But oftentimes when you're depressed, you find yourself, or that often really comes from a place of maybe being unworthy, maybe feeling a sense of shame about something in your life, maybe feeling like an outcast, maybe feeling that you don't belong. There's a core set of beliefs or an identity that you have that you may not even recognize that you have. But when you're reading these books and it's talking about how this process works, you're reading it from a perspective of okay, this is going to work for me, but you're not addressing those beliefs and those ideas that you have about yourself. So you read through it, you do all the exercises, you try to do the things that it tells you to do, and yet you find yourself still right where you started. And realistically, sometimes you find yourself feeling even worse than you did before you started, because when you put the energy into it and you find something that's supposed to be helpful to people and you don't feel like it's been helpful to you, you blame yourself. It reaffirms the idea that there's something just really wrong with you, that you're incapable of getting better, that it's hopeless for you. And that's not the case. I can almost promise you that is not the case. It's just that you're reading it from your own internal belief system, which often you don't even really recognize. It's kind of that idea of looking at things through rose-colored glasses. Well, it's kind of the opposite of that in a sense, because when you don't feel great about yourself for whatever reason, and you hold those core beliefs that you're probably not even aware of, everything that you do, everything that you experience is with those clouded lenses on. So everything that you experience is from that place of not being enough, not being good enough, not being capable enough, or whatever the case may be. So when you find yourself reading books read them. I'm not saying don't read them. Certainly read them. There's some really great ones out there. But don't beat yourself up when it doesn't seem to work for you, because it's probably not. You can read 100 different books, but if you don't address that core underlying belief, not a lot is going to change. You might find that you're able to do some things differently. Like for a little while, you might, instead of completely withdrawing into yourself, you may decide to call people, or you may decide to journal or something like that, and that's great. But nothing internally really changes, and it lasts for a brief period of time, and then you go back to the same way that things have always been. So don't give up. It's not that you're beyond hope, and it's not that there's something different about you as to why these resources aren't beneficial to you, or at least not in the way that you would like them to be. You just need to give yourself the opportunity to challenge those beliefs that you have. And that's not an easy thing to do, especially on your own. Even within the context of therapy, with a very skilled therapist, it's not easy. It's time-consuming. It's a lot of effort. It's constantly being aware and challenging those things. And with the help of a therapist, it gives you that opportunity. So don't give up. Don't feel discouraged. Just recognize that self-help books are really for information. They can help you understand things, but they don't really resolve anything. And so if you've got things that need to be resolved, a self-help book isn't going to fix it. But there is help, and there is hope available. Don't give up. Until next time.